Chosen one. You noticed it the moment you stopped forcing warmth into conversations that already felt cold. Someone was talking to you the same way they always had. Same tone, same expectations, same rhythm. But internally, something no longer moved automatically. You answered more slowly. You watched yourself searching for energy that used to appear instantly. And for a second, the silence between you and them felt heavier than the actual conversation. At first, you tried explaining it away. Stress, exhaustion, too much pressure building quietly underneath everything. But then it kept happening. You started noticing how certain interactions drained you before they even began. How your body tightened when your phone lit up with certain names. How quickly your energy disappeared after conversations where you had to emotionally manage the atmosphere the entire time. And slowly, something became difficult to ignore. The pressure was not only exhausting you, it was exposing what you could no longer tolerate pretending felt normal. Most people assume disconnection happens suddenly. One argument, one betrayal, one dramatic ending. But many times, losing someone begins quietly. It begins in smaller moments that almost look insignificant from the outside. You stop volunteering parts of yourself automatically. You stop explaining your feelings repeatedly just to create emotional understanding. You stop forcing enthusiasm into interactions that leave you empty afterward. And the strange part is that other people often do not notice the shift immediately, because externally you may still look available, still responding, still participating, still showing up. But internally, your relationship to the experience has already started changing. You feel it sitting across from someone while realizing you are emotionally carrying the entire conversation again. You feel it when your body relaxes the second certain interactions finally end. You feel it during moments where you hear yourself agreeing automatically, while another part of you quietly resists underneath the response. That resistance matters. At first, you probably ignored it. Most people do, especially if you spent years adapting yourself emotionally to maintain peace, connection, stability, or acceptance. Because adaptation becomes familiar. You learn how to soften yourself quickly, how to prevent tension before it appears, how to make yourself emotionally understandable for everyone around you. And after enough time, those behaviors stop feeling like behaviors. They start feeling like identity. That is why awareness changes everything so slowly at first. Nothing external may collapse immediately. The same people still text you. The same routines still exist. The same environments still surround you. But internally, your nervous system begins reacting differently inside those experiences. You notice exhaustion faster. You notice tension sooner. You notice how often you abandon yourself to keep interactions emotionally comfortable. And once you become conscious inside a pattern while it is happening, returning fully unconscious becomes almost impossible. The conversation continues. The room still looks normal. Other people may not notice anything at all. But internally, something has already started separating. This is usually the stage where confusion begins, because part of you still wants to preserve the old connection. You remember the version of yourself that tolerated more, the version that adjusted faster, the version that could emotionally carry situations without feeling the cost immediately afterward. So naturally, you try forcing yourself backward. You tell yourself you are overthinking. You tell yourself you are becoming too distant. You tell yourself maybe you just need more patience. But every attempt to return to the old emotional pattern starts feeling heavier than the last. That heaviness becomes difficult to explain, especially when the people around you still behave as though everything is normal. Someone asks for more from you emotionally, and your stomach tightens before you even answer. Someone expects immediate emotional access to you again, and instead of responding automatically, there is hesitation where automatic behavior used to exist. You start staring at messages longer, not because you hate anyone, because part of you already feels the emotional cost before re-entering the dynamic. And eventually, you begin recognizing something painful, Some relationships only function smoothly when you abandon yourself quietly inside them. That realization changes people slowly, not through anger first, through exhaustion. You begin noticing how often your role inside certain environments depended on emotional self-sacrifice. Keeping things calm, keeping things emotionally manageable, keeping other people comfortable while silently carrying your own discomfort underneath the interaction. And many times, the people benefiting from those patterns never fully recognize the cost, because your adaptation made everything look effortless. That is why some people do not realize they are losing you. They only recognize the version of you that constantly adjusted itself around them. So when awareness interrupts the pattern, your change feels confusing to them. You become quieter, more selective, less emotionally available in the old automatic way. And internally, another realization begins forming. You are not becoming colder. You are becoming less willing to disappear inside emotional patterns that hurt you. Pressure changes people in ways that are difficult to see while it is happening, especially emotional pressure, because emotional pressure rarely arrives loudly at first. It builds through repetition, through constant adaptation, through conversations where your needs disappear quietly, through environments where your nervous system never fully relaxes. And eventually, your body begins recognizing the pattern before your mind fully explains it. That is why this stage feels so disorienting. Part of you still remembers the old identity, the accommodating version, the emotionally available version, the version that could override discomfort quickly and continue functioning normally. But another part of you has already started seeing the truth underneath those behaviors. You notice which people expect emotional access without emotional responsibility. You notice how certain conversations leave you feeling emotionally scattered for hours afterward. You notice how often you minimized your own discomfort just to preserve connection. And once awareness deepens enough, the nervous system stops cooperating the same way. That changes everything quietly. You can still overextend yourself, still overexplain, still emotionally carry situations that were never fully yours to carry. But now your body reacts while it is happening. The tension arrives faster. The exhaustion lingers longer. The emotional disconnection becomes harder to ignore. You feel it driving home afterward. You replay the interaction again, not because you are searching for conflict, but because something inside you knows you betrayed your own awareness again. That internal conflict becomes exhausting, not because you are weak, because awareness and behavior are moving in opposite directions. You see the pattern clearly now. Part of you still participates in it anyway, and that creates pressure most people misunderstand. They think pressure means life is punishing them. But many times, pressure is awareness refusing to stay unconscious anymore. The old emotional role starts feeling unbearable because you can finally feel yourself inside it while it is happening. That realization creates grief. Not only grief about other people, grief about how long you normalized emotional self-abandonment just to maintain connection. And for a while, this stage can feel deeply isolating, because externally, life may still appear functional. People still expect the same version of you. They still speak to you the same way. They still assume your silence means agreement. Meanwhile, internally, your identity is reorganizing in real time. The old behaviors still exist, but they no longer feel believable. And once something stops feeling emotionally true, forcing yourself into it repeatedly becomes exhausting at a level that other people rarely understand. This is the stage where many people start trying to numb themselves again. Not because they want to become unconscious, because awareness without change becomes emotionally painful. So people distract themselves, overwork themselves, overstimulate themselves, keep themselves busy enough to avoid sitting quietly with what they already know internally. But eventually, the awareness keeps returning. You feel it before certain plans. You feel it during conversations that suddenly drain your entire nervous system. You feel relief when events get canceled that you once would have forced yourself to attend. Those moments are important because they reveal something deeper than emotional preference. They reveal identity reorganization. And identity reorganization rarely feels clean while it is happening. The external world still expects continuity. People expect immediate emotional access, immediate accommodation, immediate participation. But internally, something has slowed down. You hesitate before agreeing now. You pause before explaining yourself. You notice resistance before the automatic emotional performance begins. And that hesitation becomes the turning point. Because hesitation means awareness has entered the pattern. Someone asks something familiar from you. Internally, your body reacts before the old role fully activates. Someone expects emotional labor from you again. And instead of moving automatically into accommodation, another part of you quietly pulls backward. That internal interruption changes people more than dramatic breakthroughs ever do. Because real transformation often begins through smaller moments of non-cooperation. You stop volunteering emotional energy automatically. You stop chasing emotional clarity from people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop forcing connection where your nervous system constantly feels unsafe, drained, or unseen. And for a while, that stage feels lonely. Not because you are losing yourself, because you are losing emotional roles that once helped you survive. That distinction matters. Even unhealthy adaptations can feel emotionally comforting when they protected you for years. Part of you still wants to preserve them sometimes. Part of you still wants everyone to remain comfortable. Part of you still wants to avoid disappointing people. Part of you still wants to keep the emotional atmosphere stable. But awareness keeps interrupting the performance now. And eventually, another realization becomes unavoidable. The people who benefited most from your self-abandonment often struggle the most when you stop doing it. Not always because they are evil. Many simply became accustomed to a version of you that constantly adjusted itself around everyone else. So when you become more grounded inside yourself, the change feels unfamiliar to them. You respond differently. You carry yourself differently. You protect your energy differently. And without realizing it, they begin experiencing the absence of the old version of you. That is when many people finally notice they were losing you. Not when you suffered silently, when you stopped participating unconsciously. Slowly, the pressure begins changing form. It stops feeling only heavy. It starts feeling precise. You begin understanding what your exhaustion was trying to reveal. Not every relationship was reciprocal. Not every environment deserved unlimited emotional access to you. Not every connection required you to disappear emotionally just to preserve it. That awareness changes your behavior gradually. You become more deliberate. You answer slower. You observe more. You stop explaining yourself endlessly to people committed to misunderstanding your boundaries anyway. And something unexpected happens. Life begins feeling cleaner. Not perfect, not endlessly peaceful. Cleaner, because you stop carrying emotional weight that never belonged entirely to you. You begin recognizing which relationships require performance and which ones allow presence. Which conversations leave you grounded afterward. Which environments constantly activate tension inside your body. Which people only feel connected to you when you are abandoning yourself for them. That discernment changes your standards naturally, not through dramatic declarations, through quieter decisions. You leave certain conversations earlier. You stop forcing emotional access where trust no longer exists. You stop making yourself endlessly available to people who only recognize your value when they need something from you. Some people notice immediately. Others only recognize the change once your emotional labor disappears. And that becomes revealing, because many dynamics survive through unconscious imbalance. Once one person becomes aware of the imbalance fully, the relationship either reorganizes honestly or begins weakening naturally. That process can feel painful, but it also creates clarity. You start trusting your nervous system more. The tightness in your chest matters now. The exhaustion after certain interactions matters now. The hesitation before agreeing matters now. You stop arguing against your own awareness constantly. And eventually, the distance between what you know internally and how you behave externally begins narrowing. That changes your relationship with yourself completely. The pressure becomes information. The heaviness becomes discernment. The exhaustion becomes clarity. Because now you understand something important. Pressure was never only trying to break you. Sometimes pressure exposes what your identity can no longer survive pretending feels healthy. Eventually, your silence changes, not into emotional withdrawal, into self-trust. You stop reacting immediately just because tension appears. You stop abandoning your own awareness simply to keep interactions emotionally smooth. You stop forcing yourself into emotional alignment with people and environments that constantly drain you. There is less urgency inside you now. Not because you stopped caring, because you stopped believing every emotional demand deserves immediate access to you. That shift changes your presence. Your energy feels steadier. Your decisions feel cleaner. Your words carry less emotional desperation. Some people experience that change as distance. But distance is not always rejection. Sometimes it is what self-respect looks like after years of unconscious overextension. You notice things earlier now. You notice when your body tightens before answering. You notice when conversations feel emotionally manipulative. You notice when your nervous system begins warning you before your mind fully explains why. And most importantly, you no longer betray that awareness automatically. That is the real transformation. Not one dramatic breakthrough, not one perfect moment. A growing willingness to stay conscious while the old pattern is happening. That small shift reorganizes everything. Because once awareness becomes stronger than the need to preserve unhealthy emotional patterns, your life starts changing from the inside outward. And eventually, the people around you feel the difference. Not because you became harder, because you became more honest about what your nervous system can no longer tolerate pretending feels normal. Most people do not realize they are losing you while you are still overextending yourself to keep the connection alive. They notice it later, when the automatic accommodation disappears, when the emotional labor stops, when the version of you that constantly abandoned itself quietly for everyone else no longer feels emotionally available in the same way. And that is why the season feels so strange. Part of you still remembers the old identity, the version that tolerated more, the version that adjusted faster, the version that could silence discomfort instantly and continue performing normally. But another part of you already knows something changed. The pressure exposed what you could no longer survive ignoring. Not because you became weak, because awareness finally became stronger than adaptation. You started noticing the tension, the exhaustion, the hesitation, the emotional cost of constantly abandoning yourself to preserve connection. And once you fully see those patterns, returning unconscious inside them becomes almost impossible. That is the real shift, not dramatic rebellion, honest awareness, the kind that quietly changes how you speak, how you respond, how you protect your energy, how you move through the world. And eventually, the people around you begin realizing something they never noticed while your adaptation was still protecting the relationship. They were slowly losing access to the version of you that ignored itself automatically. The pressure did not destroy you. It revealed who you could no longer pretend to be. And maybe that is why the heaviness finally started making sense. Not fully resolved, but clear. This is obsidian within, forged in the shadows, destined for more.